Hi, Adriano here, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about legacy, in particular when it comes to our loved ones and perhaps the people that we care about that are aging, that are getting to old age, and even some of the concern that we might have of life when they aren't around. And so I want to talk a little bit about legacy. And what prompted this video, I wanted to create this video for some time, but what really prompted it was a call today that someone I know and care about was quite worried and quite affected by the fear, the worry, and the possibility, I guess the inevitability of losing a loved one and what their life will be like and the loss of that. And so I wanted to make this video now and tell you about abstract art as a way to create legacy with these loved ones, and actually legacy even in our own experiences and our own memories with these people. And what I want to propose is doing abstract art with our family members, with our aging family members and loved ones. And there's many benefits to that and many experiences that could be quite unique. And I think one of them that comes to mind for me is that it allows an opportunity to express. And abstract art has always meant for me a freedom from definitions, meaning that anything I do, even if I spill coffee on a page or I splatter paint on an inexpensive canvas, that is abstract art for me at that particular time. So it gives me a freedom to do anything, create a mess of sorts, that I call it, and it's still considered my art, my experience. And in expressing via abstract art, there's no mistakes. So when we work with a family member, and often I would bet that many family members of ours, especially our older family members, have never done abstract art, and at least have never had an experience with us doing abstract art. So it provides an opportunity to express. Even it has a capacity to provide some venting process, some decompression. And whether that is expressed verbally or it's just expressed emotionally, even unconsciously, subconsciously sometimes, by pushing paint around or splattering paint, it might help them. It helps us to release some things we've been holding on to. It can also provide an opportunity to express because we're doing an activity and our conscious mind, our thoughts, our filters of restricting maybe what we say, what we don't say, what we share, what we feel comfortable with, that has a little bit less hold and less resistance. So maybe the conversation is more likely even to come out. Things that bother us, things that perhaps our family members regret. We have less resistance to sharing that when we're in this type of activity, especially creative activity like abstract art. So I think I have really appreciated abstract art as a way to connect, and not only connect with myself, but in doing it with family members as a way to connect with them. And ultimately, when I think about what is my feeling, what feels good to me about the connection and building depth perhaps to the relationship, is really about understanding them. And it's really about understanding how they see the world, what they're holding on to, what fears they have, what regrets, maybe what they actually want to achieve in life, or maybe what they want to experience more so, what they desire, especially if we're talking about older family members or loved ones, what they want for us. And maybe those things are never spoken. I found that the relationships often, we're holding a bunch of concerns and worries and perhaps judgments or insecurities, whatever, we all have them. But we're holding these things that don't allow us to connect. And especially when it comes to old age or people that are getting to older ages, sometimes there is frustration because they are not at the point that they used to be. Maybe it's physically, maybe it's mentally, maybe they cannot contribute to the family in ways that they always identified themselves as being able to do. The provider, or the person that can fix everything, or the person that knows all the recipes how to cook for the family, that then starts to forget the recipes to things, and that could be a real frustration to them. So abstract art has a therapeutic value, and I talk about abstract art therapy in other places. But here I want to talk about just the legacy aspect. So while it has this therapeutic value, and it can actually be really great, especially if there are things and worries in our lives, in their lives, that they want an opportunity to express, and maybe they don't want to express out loud to people, or to loved ones, or even to therapists or something, here is an opportunity to do so. But if we do abstract art with them, and we can use just a pen and a piece of paper and literally scribble on that piece of paper, and that's something more than nothing. But it's very easy to get an inexpensive canvas, even a nice sized one, get a few inexpensive paints and maybe colors and different materials. You can even use mixed media materials sometimes. I even use like nature, foliage and things like that. But it's very easy and simple and not expensive to do, to create kind of a very unique, cool, and impactful experience. And really that's providing us depth, right? All of our lives leading up to this point, we have experiences, judgments, fears, concerns, experiences that were painful, some that were great, you know. Think of first love or first relationship, maybe some struggles, everything that our family members through, whether it's 50 years, 70 years, 90, 100 years that they've gone through, all of those things lead up to who they are at that point. They've got all of those memories, all those subconscious experiences, although not all of them are consciously remembered at this exact time perhaps, but that's all of who they are, unique and perfectly in that moment. So when we create something, especially abstract, it gives us the opportunity just to be us, and it gives them an experience of just being them. And their resonance, I call it resonance, is on that page. And everything that they've experienced and all the ways that they see the world and why they react certain ways when other people wouldn't, all that complexity is in there somewhere in that abstract art piece. So when I look at pieces that I've done in the past, it holds that resonance for me. And sometimes I can go and see particular things in the piece that maybe I didn't see before, or they maybe give me a shape of an animal or something that gives me a theme and allows me to dig a little bit deeper into this experience that I had and remember that, and it's quite cool. And we can do that with them in our abstract art experience with them. So even if you go and make a mess, you can find some things that represent something to the conscious mind afterwards. I start to chuckle. It makes me think of first time I did this with my grandfather. And this is a real impactful reason for doing this video, because after having that experience with him, creating this abstract art experience, very easy to do, very inexpensive, and kind of fun in the process of it, it had created such a memory, such a peace, and such impact in my life and my other family members' lives, that we'll hold that for all of our lives. And this is the sense of immortalizing our loved ones and immortalizing ourselves in a sense, and not as a big concept, funny concept of how to escape death, but I think when I have or see this piece that we did with my grandfather, that this piece will always represent them, always represent this experience with them. And it always will I'll look back on it, even if I don't see it right now, I can picture it, and I can remember the fun we had seeing my grandfather, come to life through the process and feel joy and this freedom and this adventure, kind of like a child playing and making a mess, or playing and experiencing that. And in my grandfather's case, this was the first time he had ever done it. And there was some resistance at the start of, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I said, just do whatever you feel like doing. He says, well, how am I supposed to know what to do if there's no instruction on what to do, right? And you're just pushing paint around. Like, what's the point of that? And I said, I tried to relate that it doesn't really matter. Just go with what first comes to mind. If you see this color that you like, I laid out a few inexpensive paints around there. If you like that color, just pick it up and just put it on however. And when it's on the canvas, if you feel like spreading it in a certain way, just go whatever first comes to thought. And little by little, we built on that experience. Just do whatever comes first. Just do whatever comes first. And he would ask sometimes, are we done? Do I do more? Is it too much? Go with the flow. Go ahead. Here, do you want to try this? No. Okay, you want to try this one? Sure. And little by little, we worked through the experience. So how did I get that experience, or I facilitate that? It was very inexpensive. I used a canvas that was already had a print on it. It was a manufactured, like mass-produced print, and I just sprayed over top of it with some spray paint. It already had some texturing on it, which was quite cool because afterwards, the paint that we put on would brush up against this texturing and would create a very cool, what ultimately ended up being a fish. We found a fish afterwards in it. And little by little, we kept creating each person and shifting it around. And I had to shift the canvas for him and give him the paints because of physical limitations and restrictions. But through the process, I started to see the whole presence of him have fun. And of course, a first in your lifetime experience is really quite impactful. And to share that with him was phenomenal. I'll always carry that with me. And in terms of abstract art therapy, using abstract art to enjoy life more, that is a huge component to my quote unquote success, or how I define using abstract art successfully. But when I look at this piece, and what we had fun with afterwards was finding different things. We found a fish, which was really cool because it had a history amongst us as our family. We would go fishing with my grandfather. He really enjoyed the fishing. Even if we're just there spending the afternoon eating some sandwiches or some salad or whatever it might be, that was a great experience we shared. And that came about totally at random. Nobody had the intention to put a fish, and we actually just kind of overlapped one another's paints and seeing the piece afterwards, tilting it in different ways. How does it look this way? What do you see there? It expanded our experience together. And what was really cool is to start to understand my grandfather on deeper and deeper levels, because he would see certain things that I wouldn't see, and hear his thoughts and hear his words about explaining how the experience was for him and how weird it was, but how it kind of reminded him of this memory he had 40 years ago or 50, 60 years ago, etc. And that type of experience was so deep and provided so much depth to our relationship, which is one of the reasons I wanted to mention it here. So it has a way of immortalizing that experience with them. It won't replace them and all the different aspects of that. But it serves to not only remember them, it serves as a way that can help remove some of the obstacles that we are holding, each of us, that maybe don't let us cherish one another in the moments, even if it's going to visit them briefly. Sometimes there's things that we're each holding on to that get in the way of us actually connecting, actually being there on a human level, on a loving level, and empathize with one another, what they're going through, what they're experiencing. So that's a little bit about abstract art in terms of how it can be a tool or an experience that can create legacy within our dynamics of relationships, of the cared people in our lives and the people that we love and care about, and also as a way of helping to process, I'm going to use the word process, the fears that we have of losing these people we really care about. And I don't think that it necessarily resists that or helps to eliminate the possibility of losing them. But it creates such a depth that it helps us to cherish not only them, but our time spent together where we have it now. And that's something that is very powerful. And I hope that it's impactful for you if that's something that is relevant to you right now. Now, I just would invite you to do abstract art with them at their level. So in regards to my grandfather, I proposed the idea, but I also helped to bring the canvas. I already pre-spray painted it. The canvas was under $10. I got a few paints that were $1 or $2 each. It's very inexpensive. And I got that, brought that there. And I met him at his level for, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we making a mess? Etc. So I invite you to try abstract art with your loved ones, especially the ones that are aging and that we really love and that we are maybe concerned about not having them in our lives at some point. It could be a great experience and great activity and create a lot of depth when it comes to legacy and the memories that they share in our lives. I'm Adriano. Take care.